2Country Radio, today's best country.
Hey, what's up, guys? It's Kip Moore, and you're listening to 2Country Radio.
If it ain't broke, you can bet that I'm...
Kip Moore, welcome to 2Country Radio. Welcome to the UK, my friend.
It is good to be here.
It's really nice to be able to meet with you face to face and talk about your life, country music, and the rest. Your first time in the UK, so this, I'm guessing, is, you know, you haven't done a lot of interviews here. Let's kind of start. Where are you from?
From a small town in South Georgia. Where I was from was not a whole lot to do. There was really no outlets for, you know, especially as a kid. You know, it was fishing holes and farmland, and it was just you know, kind of in the sticks. Small town, real quiet. So as a kid, I was always dreaming about getting out and seeing things and doing things, and now I'm finally getting to do those things, and music is providing that.
So how did it sounds like a song at your hometown? It's
Yeah, and you know, my first record, a lot of it revolved around, because until I really started touring hardcore, I had never really seen a lot of different places. You know, I'd kind of been in the South my whole life, you know, whether it was Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi, Tennessee. I'd kind of been in that pocket of places, the Carolinas, but I'd never really seen the rest of the country. And I definitely had never seen, you know, Europe, you know, never been anywhere, you know. So my life, my songwriting consisted so much of drawing on those old experiences, that upbringing that I had. And now you'll hear it when you get this new record. It's kind of evolved into another thing because my life is so different now. So the first record, you know, the Up All Night record, is a very nostalgic, looking back kind of record.
I was going to ask about that. The title, Up All Night, does that have any significance?
Well, you know, there is a specific song called Up All Night.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But that is pertaining to, you know, the reason I wrote that song was I looked around at so many people and so many friends that I had that were starting to settle down and have babies and get married, and just watching how it was almost as if they felt like they couldn't do anything anymore. Life had just completely changed, where it was all about, you know, you know, not seizing the moment and living wide open anymore. And I was like, you know, I want to always keep my zest for life, where I'm always traveling and seeing doing new things and trying new experiences, and that's why that song was written. And then it was more of a literal interpretation of, I literally spent every waking hour writing that record for years, and I was up all night constantly writing that record, you know, till 4 and 5 in the morning. So it had a double meaning for me, and that's why I titled it, you know, that's why I titled it that.
Okay, I was going to talk to you about songwriting, and we've kind of gone there fairly early.
Mm-hmm.
I read somewhere you've done, something like 500 songs?
Oh, I've done way more than that.
Oh, yeah, okay.
I'm more close to about 1,000.
Okay, so how do you pick 14 songs for your first album?
It's almost impossible. You know, that because you get so close to all of these songs, and it's so hard to narrow it down. But, you know, essentially you're trying to create a body of work, and you know, and a common thread throughout a record. And so a lot of songs get left behind. But you know, I hope that as my career grows, I can pull a lot of those old songs back out, and I hope I can start putting music out faster and letting people have the music. But it's definitely a tough process, that's for sure.
Does writing your own songs impact on the sort of evolution of the album? You know, sort of.
I think so. I definitely know that, you know, personally speaking, that, you know, since I wrote these songs, I feel them, and it definitely, it impacts the way I sing them. It impacts the flow of the record. But you know, somebody could easily debate that when you have guys like George Strait and Tim McGraw that have historically, Garth Brooks, cut outside songs and made great records.
They pick good songs, don't they?
Yeah, you know, it's just something. I'm a writer first and foremost, and that's what I've always done.
How gratifying is it? You put your debut album out, and it's the best-selling Debut album by a male star.
Yeah, I mean, you dream about those kind of things, and you don't even, when I put that record out, it was just hoping that somebody was going to like it. I just hoped people were going to dig what I was doing. You're, especially when you don't feel like, when I wrote most of that first record, I wasn't in the so-called circle with the big writers in town that were writing for all the other artists. I was kind of off just writing with my two buddies that didn't even have publishing deals, and we were writing this record, and that's why I think it kind of sounded different, because I wasn't with the big heavy hitters in town writing this project. And
you went to Nashville 2004.
Yeah.
And first job?
First job there was I waited tables briefly. I had so many jobs I don't even know where to start. I worked at a kids YMCA clinic in the summertime. I worked on a golf course. I worked retail. I worked a lot of odd jobs.
And I guess that's the evolution of a songwriter, singer, isn't it? You kind of do what you need to do.
Yeah, I would my sole purpose, I got offered good jobs to do certain things, but it would have been full time, doing that. And I think that people are so focused on having a cush lifestyle that songwriting takes the back seat. A lot of people move to town to be a songwriter. Then they go and get a full-time job because they want to drive a nice car and they want to have a nice house and then they write songs on the side, and for me it can't be that way, and I knew it couldn't be that way. For me it was, I want to be great at what I do, so I put all my focus on that, and I wanted to have longevity, and I wanted to have a career, and so I was okay with living, poor for quite a while, and I couldn't even keep the heat on in my house, but I would, I would write all through the day, and then I'd work at night, an odd job here or there. I'd work on a Tuesday or Friday, and I'd write from, Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then I'd write all day Sunday. It was just, my thing was being a great songwriter, and that's where my focus was.
And hence the up all night thing.
Yeah.
And it then becomes, you start reading reviews about that album describing you as Merle Haggard-esque. In musically, sort of reminding people of that style of music, sort of the kind of classic country sound, but with I think one reviewer described you as a hillbilly Springsteen.
Yeah, Springsteen's one of my biggest heroes. I think so. I'm curious to see what they're going to say about this new record, because it's very different from the Up All Night record, and I try not to focus too much on those things, though. I try to focus on what I can control, and I'm a big fan of Merle Haggard and Springsteen. But I just want to be a great writer, and I want to be a great storyteller. And I think that I take that to another level with this new record.
We've still been looking for details of that one. Are we kind of getting close to a title?
Yeah, I have the title. I just hadn't told anybody yet. I have the title. It'll come out soon enough, and the record hopefully will come out in late May.
Okay,
yeah,
that's good news.
Yeah,
really looking forward to hearing that one.
So it's right around the corner.
It is, isn't it? Yeah.
The new single from the new record just came out 4 weeks ago, and it's racing up the charts back in the States. So
great song, nice.
Yeah, I'm to blame.
It's a short song.
Yeah,
isn't it?
very short.
Yeah, 2 minutes and a bit.
2 minutes and 15 seconds.
2 minutes and change, which is these days for a country record.
It's very short.
It's very short.
Very short.
But it's a nice tune, and it plays well acoustically.
Yeah, it's a cool song to play acoustic, and I feel like that's an important thing. When you take all the bells and whistles away, can your song stand on its own 2 feet? And I always want to make sure my songs can stand on their own 2 feet.
Okay, so if we go back to something about a truck.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever played that acoustically?
Oh yeah, I mean there's if you get the deluxe album, there's a version of it.
Okay.
Acoustic.
Do you know I've got that album and I completely strange, isn't it? I've completely forgotten that song.
Yeah, there's the deluxe version, and it's got the acoustic.
Worth buying the deluxe album because you've got 3 extra tracks on acoustic songs. One of them, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's one of them.
Okay, that was your first #1 hit.
It was.
Can you remember where you were when you first heard? Made #1?
Yeah, I was in Georgia actually playing a show when I heard it with number one, and that song almost never got written. I wrote that song with Dan Couch, and we had already written a song that day that's been long forgotten, and it was kind of a, piece of crap, and we just kind of were like, well, today we just didn't have our mojo. The song just didn't good, and we were calling it a day. And as he was leaving, telling his wife he was coming home, I started playing that groove on my guitar and kind of just started humming that melody. And he left the room, and I didn't know it, but he was listening to me outside the door as I was banging around on that thing for a little bit. And about 10 minutes went by, and he opened the door, and he sang the first verse to the song. And I said, well, I think you're going to have to call your wife and tell her you're going to be a little bit late because we're going to have to write this right now. So for the next hour and a half, we sat down and we flew through it. I'm glad we did.
Did you know you had a hit on your hands then? Is that one of those
Yes.
songs? Yeah. You kind of
I knew I did. I knew that if it had a chance to get out, I knew it would be.
It's an earworm, isn't it? You kind of hear it and it kind of stays.
Yeah, I knew that it was that. That and Pretty Girl were the only two from that record that I knew I had something.
And Pretty Girl is, again, another great song, and it's really, it brings the girls to your door, I'm guessing.
If I allow that, yeah, it does.
If you allow it,
yeah. If I allow that, it does. That was a special day. That song took weeks, weeks and months for me to write. So it's a special song for sure.
So where does the inspiration come from?
Hey Pretty Girl actually came from. I'm a single man and I don't have any kids, and I've got my same guitar player, Dave Lapsley, who's been playing with me since I moved to town at 21 years old. I guess when I moved to town, 21, 22, we've been playing together for 10, 11 years. And watching him evolve, we've had some wild times together, and watching him settle down, get engaged and then get married and have a baby, and watching him Skype with his kid, as we're riding down the road and stuff, and just kind of watching that whole scene from the outside looking in, and just knowing how we were all designed and created, I feel like, to want to have a counterpart you kind of go through life with, and somebody you lean on and you have babies with, and you do life together. And although I've stayed away from that because I've been so focused on this, I'm also smart enough to know that that's what it's all about. And that's the headspace that I was in the day that I wrote Pretty Girl. I'd gotten off the road, and I'm watching everybody else get picked up by their wives and their girlfriends, and I step off single by myself all the time. And they kind of envy me when I do step off the bus single a lot of times. They're like, what are you about to do? Everybody else is, they're about to go take care of family stuff. And I'm like, well, I think I'm going to go rock climb. It's like I live that life that's kind of I've always kind of been the gypsy. But at the same time, they don't know that I'm kind of envying what they have a little bit too, and that's how the whole song came about. And it was, I hope to have what they have one day. I just don't want it yet. Kind
of tough having that while you're on the road, I guess.
Yeah, it is. It's a very hard thing to juggle. I don't think it's a hard thing to juggle if the music doesn't mean a whole lot to you. I think a lot of people, do it because they want to play songs on stage and they want to, this and that. But I actually can't breathe without it, and I want to be great at what I do. So all my focus goes into that, and it's hard to juggle those two and give a woman what they deserve, because they deserve more than what I give them. So therefore, I kind of stay away from it, and I hope that there comes a time when I can kind of step back and breathe and say, okay, I've accomplished some things that I wanted to accomplish, and now I can kind of give myself a little bit.
But at the moment, it's good priorities. Just
at the moment, they're not going to get a lot of that from me right now.
Cool, which is why you're going country to country and then back on the road.
Exactly, I'll be right back on the road right when I get back. Yeah. So a girl's not going to like that.
Now, Dierks Bentley.
Yeah.
I earlier on this year saw that you're going out on tour with Dierks Bentley, Maddie and Tay, and Kanan Smith.
I am.
And the introduction to that was a polar challenge.
It was that I was not happy about.
You looked a little hesitant, I have to say, but
I was. I do not like the cold water.
and yet you're a surfer.
Yeah, I don't surf in cold water.
Okay, we have to.
I go to tropical places. I can admit it. You know, I could care less if they call me a pansy or whatever, man. I do not like wearing a wetsuit. I don't like surfing in cold water. I could care less what anybody calls me.
Brother, I'm absolutely with you. Cold water is just not.
I feel
the
restricted.
good place. Yeah.
I feel miserable in the water the whole time. So every now and then I'll surf California, but it's just too cold. I just don't like doing it. So I'll go to Hawaii. I'll go to Costa Rica. I'll go to the Dominican Republic. I'll go somewhere else and surf. I surf the East Coast a lot, and it stays warmer for a longer period of time than the West Coast.
I've got some advice for you then. No surfing in the UK. It's freezing, bro.
That's what I hear.
Yeah. Okay, so Dirk Spenty gets you to do that. I'm taking it there was no warning about that.
Yeah, you know, I figured we're showing up to do some kind of toast, cheers to the new year and what's going to happen, and then, you know.
And then a little while later,
assholes got me jumping in the water. You know what I mean? Like I said, well, if this is what it takes to be part of your tour, I don't want no damn part of it. You know, so I said, I told him afterward, I said, you know, you got it coming with me. Like you got it coming.
And the payback was his truck.
Yep, he loves that truck. And I said that I got to do something to that truck.
And if you haven't seen the YouTube video, guys, you've got to see it. It's just the funniest thing in the world.
It's a trip. He was writing at a guy named Josh Keir's place, and I found out that he was going to be inside for a few hours doing that. So I had someone that I knew that had a big goat, and I put it in the back of his truck and let it shit on the back of his truck. And then I wrote stuff all over his truck. And I put a little film over it so it wasn't really going to stay on there. But when he walked out, he thought I'd actually spray painted his truck.
The expression on his face was something to behold, man.
Yeah.
It really was.
Yeah.
So you're now going to go on tour with him. Is this...
honestly, I think he's going to stay away from me. Like, I think we're going to have some good times together. But I think the pranking is over because I think that he knows that I'll take it a step further. So I don't. Okay. I think he needs to just leave it, let it lie. You know where it is.
Okay, so you can't see the sort of battle continuing.
I don't think if he's smart, he won't do it. If he's smart, he'll just stop where it is.
Okay, yeah. We'll keep an eye.
He'll let me have the one hand up and just leave it alone.
We'll keep an eye on that because I have to say it's one of the funniest things I've seen this year. Really. I wanted to talk to you about Brett James.
I can do that.
Because 2Country Radio, we're huge fans of Brett James as a singer.
Yeah. He's a phenomenal singer.
I understand he kind of instrumental, really, in some ways, in keeping you on track.
Yeah, he actually somewhat discovered me as a songwriter. He had heard about me from doing songwriter nights, and you know, and for those that don't know Brett James, he's possibly one of the biggest songwriters ever come out of Nashville. He's written so many hits, and he's such a chameleon as a writer. He's written massive pop hits, jazz hits. You know, he's tons of country hits. But
he's one of those guys. If you look at a record, like
he's all over.
His name is probably
he's an amazing writer, and he just was really a fan of what I did as a songwriter, and he says, I think you can be, you know, one of the best that's ever come through this town. And he kind of took me under his wing and signed me to a publishing deal and mentored me some early on and let me have my freedom of recording any songs I wanted to. And when a lot of new writers in Nashville, when you get signed to a songwriting deal, you have your suits and your corporate people that like have the reins of everything, and when you get done writing a song, they'll say, well, they're the ones that make the decision of whether or not they're going to pay for you to go in and record that, you know. And Brett let me record whatever I thought that so he basically let me fail and succeed on my own terms. He let me go in and record some of these songs that might not have been that good, and he might have known they weren't that good, but he let me discover that by going through the recording process and being like, you know what, I should have held off on this, and I should have written something better, you know. So he he gave me the reins to really find myself as a writer.
Okay, so I guess a huge influence.
Yeah, a massive influence. And we would sit around and talk about my songs and what he liked and what he didn't like. And I trusted him, and I knew that he had already been through. I've always been stubborn, and I've always had my own vision, but I'm also smart enough to know that a guy like that's had years and years of experience on top of mine, and has already been through the game and already been through the being kicked in the teeth for many years himself. He definitely has something to say and something to offer.
Mm. Stubbornness, does that we've got Country to Country coming up real soon, and you're going to be sort of sitting at O2. Does that stubbornness coming out in preparation for your show?
Oh, hell yeah. Yeah, for sure. I have a very strong vision of what I'm doing, where I am, where I want to go. And it's been a tough road for me. You have people that are always trying to steer you in these different directions. And with everything, with your music, with your image, with your videos, and I think that's why a lot of times you have a lot of puppets. You have a lot of the same acts that are doing the same thing, and they look the same, and it's all the same. Because sometimes people don't have their own vision, and then you fall prey to all the people that have maybe directed all these other paths, and they have a formula, and you're going to be in that formula kind of thing. And then there's a lot of people that have their own individuality. I've always had a strong vision. I've always had a fight to me, and I think you get it a lot in my performance. You see a lot of that come out when I'm playing, because I've had to fight so hard to get to where I've gotten, and that definitely comes out when I play. But I'd rather die by my own sword than to have somebody else, telling me every step to do and to die by their sword. I'd rather fail on my own terms.
We have a friend who saw you in the States recently. He said you're going to set the place on fire, which is kind of...
I can't wait.
Yeah.
I can't wait. I always feel like that's what I'm going to do when I get on stage, and I can't wait to, that's my thing. Is I want to take people through a journey. Like, I want them to feel exhausted almost when I get off stage. And I think a lot of times too, from being an athlete my whole life and playing college sports and preparing for those kind of things, it was like I always wanted to beat whoever I was going against. I always wanted to be better, and I think a lot of that comes out, in these shows too. It's like I want it to be tough for whoever's going after me. Like, that's my thing when I walk on the stage, and I don't hide that fact. Like, I want it to be hard for you to.
I wonder how Brantley Gilbert, Jason Aldean, and Lady Ansel.
I don't know. I mean, that's just the way I think, and I think that, I have the utmost respect for those guys, and I'm friends with those guys, but that's my nature, is that I want you to be thinking about, shit, I got to go now.
And it's kind of that. Yeah, Flex, the guy I was talking, who'd been to your show, said he got that feeling that you were first and foremost trying to make sure people leave your concerts with this kind of buzz.
Yeah.
So first time in the UK performing.
Yeah.
What do you hope that people are going to go away from the show? What's the memory?
I hope they're going to see you for what you are. You hope they see my passion. You hope they feel what I'm saying and what I'm doing. My main thing is finding some common ground with them while I'm on that stage.
I think that's already happening, Kip. It's kind of, we might.
I feel it. I feel it. I feel it when I played Norway and Sweden. Even when the crowds weren't that big, I can feel when there's something happening in a crowd, and I can feel when there's, my thing is, European people, especially the fans of music, are known for being passionate fans, and I'm a passionate person. So I think those two things, I have a hard time being around people that aren't passionate. I'm quickly bored with it. I'm quickly, I'd rather just be on my own, and that's why I'm always traveling by myself. I'm always doing these things because, you know, if people don't have my same inner fire, it's just like I'm just kind of like I'd rather just be by myself, you know. And I feel like they see that because they're the same way, kind of thing, you know. So it's I feel like there's a connection between us in that regard, and for the rest of these shows.
I think so. I think it's going to be an awesome time.
Yeah.
Kip, I think we're fast running out of time.
That's fine with me.
Cool.
Yeah.
It's been a real pleasure talking to you.
You too.
I'm looking forward to seeing you
I'm looking
performing
forward
there.
to it.
2Country Radio, today's best country.
Hey, what's up, guys? It's Kip Moore, and you're listening to 2Country Radio.
If it ain't